we'll go to our penultimate matchup, the one that I know is going to hurt Dylan's feelings. We have the Ride of the Rohirrim from Best Picture Oscar winner Return of the King taking on the splitting of the Titanic from Oscar winner Titanic. How did you split it?
I had to be close. 6-4. Lord of the Rings.
8-2 Lord of the Rings.
I knew it was gonna win, so I was like, I'm gonna give Titanic more points.
So the thing is, I tried not to do that. If I knew something you were gonna like was gonna win, I
Well,
tried not to do that. I tried to just be as honest with my reaction as possible.
I really love the Titanic scene.
You
So
do.
like,
So you fought for it. I remember you're like, "Oh, we got to put that scene from Titanic." I was like, "Do we?"
it's a great scene.
It's an impressive scene nonetheless. So we're going to justify Return of the King again is one of the few movies in this tournament when you look at the links has 2 clips because there's not a great super cut of exactly what we're looking for. You either get the entire Battle of Pelennor Fields all the way to Aragorn coming back with the Oathbreakers from the mountains, or you get chunks of scenes. So I just took the Ride of the Rohirrim is I think I have it that it's the 2 minute of desperation before Theoden arrives at the Riders of Rohan. Speech, the initial charge, and the charge through until they're overwhelmed by the giant Mumakil, the giant elephants, the Oliphants, and it's her, and it comes down to Eowyn versus Gothmog, which is the um, that's real fucking ugly.
Okay.
So that's
I
how I cut it.
okay. I stopped a little earlier than you, but that's okay because it's still one. It doesn't matter that much. Um,
Yeah, that's the we're viewing this the same way we did with Helm's Deep, and the same way we're doing with when we did Duel of the Fates for Phantom Menace, where
yeah,
there's stuff interspliced to make the movie better, but this is
yeah,
really one scene put together. So
yeah. And you want to judge the battle,
yes,
so Lord of the Ring. Oh, quick tangent, by the way.
yeah,
How disappointing is the Ghost Army in the Lord of the Rings book? It, it's so
it's.
disappointing. I was like, what? What is going on?
I,
They do
I like
nothing.
how every time Lord of the Rings now comes up on this show, you put me in danger of getting hate from a community I'm very proud to be a part of. Um,
Well, I really enjoyed the books, but there's moments in the book where I'm like, huh? What?
it's built up a lot,
Yeah, that's the thing.
and then they just kind of do it and leave.
Yeah, well, and it's like they never like cut to Aragorn or anything. Like
Yeah, they just overrun Pelennor Fields. That's all it
it,
is. So I will say it's the one thing where it's better for the overall characters, but it does leave the great question, because everybody classically in that community that knows the question when people start to get some knowledge, like, well, if the Eagles can fly, wouldn't the Eagles just why didn't they just fly Frodo in and
yeah.
drop it there? It's like, no, there actually are reasons why they can't do that.
Well, besides that, the thing I would say is because there'd be no movie, you fucking asshole.
They're,
Do you want to watch that movie?
yeah.
N- no. So why? What are you complaining about?
So what's interesting is that community's already used to stuff like that. But it does raise a great question. You have to fulfill their oath. You know you're going to have to go and fight in Mordor no matter what with an army.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you
Let's
just
save
say
them.
I need you for this battle? It's one of those that it's great because it shows the character of men is still worthy. It's not what it's portrayed to be early on, where men are broken, they can't do anything anymore in the world. But it's certainly one of those where you're like, I understand why Tolkien makes the choices that he does, but that's one of
Mhm.
those I would have been like, fuck this. Like, if I was Aragorn, I'd be like, your oath is fulfilled the
Yeah.
second we get that asshole out. Once it's
Well,
done, I'll let you do whatever you want.
yeah, and to give Lord of the Rings the movie more credit because we're talking about that scene. I didn't realize how good of a job um, is it Fran Walsh, right?
Yeah.
Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson did it adapting the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty, and when they're creating actual scenes that aren't in the book, they're only told or hinted about in the book,
Mm-hmm.
where it's never actually like showed to you. They do a great job at that. So
I mean, it truly has an argument for the greatest movie of all time. So
I
it
wouldn't go
makes
that
sense.
far, but it is great.
I mean, if we're talking about award-worthy stuff, Return of the King legitimately has an argument to be the greatest movie of all time.
What's your favorite part of that battle, of the one we're talking about? Is it the
Uh,
speech?
it's either the speech or it's Eowyn taking out the Witch King. I think it's the speech. I get goosebumps and tears every time I'm getting tears just thinking about it right now because
I
that is the moment where of all the people of Middle Earth, I I think I like the Rohirrim the most in terms of like the men because when you think about it, although they're embroiled in conflict, they don't have to do half the shit. They just do it because it's the
Yeah.
right thing to do. And the fact that the speech is we're cheering for death. We know we're going to
Oh yeah.
die and we do not care because we are going to give somebody hope.
Theoden just wants to die.
Well,
He loves it.
I mean, Theoden and that's something that's really well done in the adaptation. When you
Yeah.
first watch the movie, you're kind of like, kind of seems like he's a little too obsessed with death and glory.
I love it.
And then when you read the book, you're like, no, he's an old man who's had to lose everybody in his life, and he's looking for his end, and he wants to make sure his end is worthwhile. So when that speech happens, and he's screaming death, and he gets the Riders of Rohan screaming death,
Yeah.
there's not many moments in movie history that get me that emotional
Yeah.
in
Also
comparison.
quick shout out to like the extra work
Yes.
in the scene. So yeah, that's why it wins.
Yeah.
Talking about Titanic now, I think it's incredible. Like
The
in
special
terms of
effects of this are impeccable.
in terms of scope, I'd say it's just as epic as Lord of the Rings.
I can't agree with that, but I think it comes close.
You have to consider it's 6 years earlier, and Weta was not created yet. Weta was its own thing that was pretty much created with Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
like in conjunction. So, like Weta, the visual effects house, and Weta, the workshop, where they create the actual
Yeah.
props and everything. So, it is quite a feat in terms of the visual effects and everything, considering its time. It's pretty goddamn
Oh,
amazing.
no, it's very impressive. I think the best part about the scenes again are those character moments through spectacle. Where as much as I've shit on the man in this podcast, you gotta give the fucker credit. James
No,
Cameron knows how to apply character in spectacle. Nobody is Spielberg, and outside of the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson is not Spielberg.
agreed.
Like he hits the same level of magic in Lord of the Rings to the point where you could even go, there are some moments here that I think he does better. But outside of the Lord of the Rings, he does not have the body of the work to justify the master title, the level of Spielberg. James Cameron's got it. He ain't Spielberg, but he's damn close in terms of creating the spectacle but making you care about your characters during the spectacle. And that's a rare gift in filmmaking. So I appreciate that. When the people are hanging from the railings, that's tremendous. And the breaking of the Titanic.
I was going to say, I love the moment when it starts cracking.
And it's slow. And it builds tension.
Well, it would be in real life. considering how big of a fucking ship it is.
But I love when the ship's just like almost upright, and you're like, fuck. Just
Yeah,
think of how many people are down below and they're fucked. And there's no way they got out
yeah,
in the first place.
yeah. I mean, that's why I love it. That's why I have to give it at least 4.
Well, which is, it's stuff like that when you realize movie studios don't really know what they're talking about half the time. There was a movie, what was it? Cliffhanger, or not Cliffhanger, but something starring NFL legend Howie Long when they were trying to make him an action star. And Titanic was just burning through money, and the studio just wanted to get rid of it. And all the reports about Titanic were this movie is going to flop. It's going to be one of the biggest flops in movie history. So, in order to show the action movie that everybody wanted, you had to take Titanic. It was like an old school deal where they said, if you want to show this movie, you have to show Titanic. Because no one was on board with it. And then you see scenes from Titanic, you just went, how could anyone have that thought process?
I'm pretty sure the movie you're looking for is called Firestorm.
Thank you. I thought it was Fire Sale, but yeah, it's Firestorm.
Yeah, because that's the one that came out in '98, so it must be that.
But yeah, there was if you wanted to show that movie, you had to take Titanic. And the funny part is, Titanic just kept running.
Yeah.
For months and was unbeatable. Like, everyone just kept going to see Titanic, and no one gave a shit about Firestorm.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just smart marketing by the studio.
Titanic's 20th Century Fox, right?
Yeah.
They did the same thing. They did the same thing with Star Wars.
All Cameron movies are.
They did the same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars, everyone thought was going to suck, but The Other Side of Midnight was a really popular book that was also produced by Fox, and they said, if you want to show Other Side of Midnight, you have to agree to play Star Wars. And then every theater was buoyed for thousands of years afterwards because they showed Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, they both won Best Director. They both won Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, makes sense.
They both won production design. Like, they're very comparable scenes, but in completely different ways.
Absolutely.
They're just in terms of size and scope.
Right. Titanic is wildly impressive. And the disaster is at its peak as it's snapping. Because even still, you don't have hope. You know the Titanic sinks. We all know the Titanic sinks.
Yeah, you know the outcome, yeah.
But you have hope that your protagonists are going to make it. That's that first moment where you're like, I ain't sure everyone's going to make it. And I'm usually rooting for someone to die, not because I want the protagonist to die. It's more so it gives that realism and those stakes even more, which is why I'm a huge fan of killing a character off in a way that people don't see coming, because then everyone goes, nobody's safe. So everything matters afterwards. There's that the second that ship just cracks, you're just like, someone's got to go. But you're like, I don't want that to happen. I'm in love with these characters, but someone's not making it out of this one. So it's interesting nonetheless. Titanic, again, it's a great scene. It just doesn't have the Rohirrim.
Yeah, it would have won in a lot of different matches, I think.
I mean, I'm just looking at the matchups in this bracket. I think it loses maybe 3 of those matchups, depending on the movie.
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
But it wins the majority of against... If it got matched with pretty much any other loser or some of the winners, it wins. So, it would have done fine, but...
Luck of the draw.
Yep, luck of the draw. So you said 6-4 on that one?
Yep.
Alright, so we have a win of 14-6 for Return of the King.